Good evening and welcome to round number 4 of the Apex Esports Series powered by Kultec. Welcome here to RaceSpotTV as myself, Randy Chinnet, Alvin Yebas, and Hugo Louis bringing you all the action of round number 4 from this fantastic championship. Alvin, qualifying just now getting underway, and it is an interesting combination we have coming into the second stretch of this championship. Formula Renault at Sebring should put on a good show.
Really interesting indeed. Now we come down to round number 4, and a very interesting combination here. Formula Renault at Sebring, perhaps a combination that may not be kind of common, kind of popular, but it'll be really interesting how these drivers will be able to get to manage this car track combo being really bumpy. How will these drivers be able to manage those bumps? That's one of the things that we will have to keep an eye on.
We've seen a lot of Sebring here on RaceSpotTV in the last handful of weeks. Saw, of course, the 12 hours of Sebring, and then a week after that, the VRS GT iRacing World Championship Series took to their second round here as well. That was won by Pure Racing Team. Fernando Alonso G2 Racing taking that second spot for 2 rounds in a row in that championship. But qualifying currently underway. No one has yet to put in a time, but that should be coming to a very quick change here in a moment as drivers are working themselves off the final corner. He's Victor Morales. No, it's going to be Juan Herrera who puts in the first time at a 202.0. 201.5 for Victor as he comes across the stripe. Let's see who else is going to cycle through. Put in a lap time. A couple drivers have come across, but Sergio Dorelli goes to a 2:05. Still more drivers getting ready to work their way through. 2:06 by Paul Jourdain. Well, if we take a quick look at the championship standings thus far, Alvin, as we're halfway into this 6th-round championship, saw Johnny Gundy in this one, 187 points, pretty much 70 points clear of Roberto Montero in second.
A lot of points there, and well, speaking of Johnny Gundy, he just pulled the fastest lap of this session right now with a 159.209. So Johnny Gundy at his pace again here, in the provisional pole position for the time being. But something to point out, even though he has been pretty much dominating this whole series, previous round at Pocono he struggled just a little bit, but I guess that pretty much we are now out of the ovals and we are back on where he feels most comfortable for sure.
Seems to be like the situation. It's not the quickest time of the session as a whole. It's the quickest time for him in this qualifying, but he did a 58.7, 58.669 rather, in practice. So let's see if Johnny's going to be able to get there. Thing is, though, Alvin, with these little Formula Renaults, they're cornered very, very well. But in terms of lap time, they're actually not far off from the likes of GT machinery that you typically see here, and that means that they're not getting up to super high speeds on these straightaways. And because of that, slipstream is going to be a huge talking point over the extent of this event, because really, you're only going to be hitting about 150 miles an hour top speed in these little 2.0 Formula Renaults, as opposed to, say, GT machines, which we might typically see hit 160, 170, but are much, much slower in the corners. We'll get an idea of what that top speed actually is as Johnny Gundy is working down this long back straightaway here at Sebring, working towards sunset. He's actually going to lift out of it, so this qualifying time will not count. Next driver behind, though, is Nick Sanchez in the 488. We can base the top speed off of him. So 144 miles an hour for him, and a couple drivers as well hitting similar top speed. So a lot of slipstreaming here at one of the most famous sports car venues in the United States.
It definitely is, for sure. And, you know, like I said, it is really interesting because we are not really used to seeing open wheels on a track like Sebring, but it is always nice to see, you know, these interesting car track combinations that perhaps we cannot see in real life due to various circumstances. And that is one of the beauties of this championship in here, you know, these interesting car track combos. And then the other thing that kind of makes this championship even more interesting, the drivers, they don't even know what will be the car track combination until 24 hours before the race starts.
Definitely is something really interesting about this series. You get very little prep time relatively compared to what you might see in most other leagues. Still, Johnny Gundy on the top of the timing screen with that 59.2. Jorge Flores, 2 minutes flat, 0.64. So he's the closest by about 0.8 of a second off Johnny, but still, there's a big gap to everyone else from that current driver on pole position, because you have Alex Alba, 2:03, a full second off. Sergio Dorelli over a second off. Paul Jourdain, Emmanuel Lopez as well, and then you get to the deeper parts of the top 10, and it starts turning into about a 2-second gap as Johnny works himself out of tower, begins to run towards the Bishop to what will likely be his final hot lap of the session.
Certainly indeed. Now keeping an eye here on Johnny Guindy as it looks like he's having a good pace here now, coming here and under braking here, taking as wide as possible into Le Mans, and now coming back into the Ulmann straight. Now we're going to see what is his ultimate pace, because we saw towards the end of the session Johnny Guindy was able to put a 1:58, so I think there's still some time in there that he can extract. Now let's see what this is the very interesting part here, Sunset. What is the line that he can take? This is pretty much, you can take a lot of lines and everyone will work. Now he tries to he keeps it as tight as possible, coming here to the right to the start finish line with a time of, it looks like he will not improve his time. Well, yep, he improved for only 1/10.
He improved his qualifying time, but still not down in the 58s. He might have enough time to scramble around this racetrack and get a time in. Sergio Dorelli, by the way, has checked into the 59s as well, as he went to a 59.948. Still a number of drivers, though, out there on track. Jorge Flores is out there trying to improve. He's working his way through tower right now. Alex Alba is leaving pit road, getting ready to, well, he's actually not going to be able to get another time in before the session ends, so it's going to be the end of his session for sure. So really is, I think right here, just trying to keep an eye on Johnny Guindy as he gets himself into the famous hairpin here at Sebring and works his way down the short chute in towards the Fangio chicane and off towards Cunningham, whether or not this 18 machine can in Qualtrim get his way down into the 58s.
That'll be really interesting what he can do now. Trying to look here at the live standings here, and it looks like nobody has been able to improve their time so far, so we still keep an eye here on Johnny Guindy as he goes into what is tower corner right now, and let's see what he can do here. He takes it as wide as possible, so I think he is on another flyer in here, so well, checker flag is out, so anybody that's on a half lap, time will count.
Last times of the session coming through right now. Let's see if there's anyone ahead of Johnny that's going to be crossing start finish. We have a couple. Mauricio Moreno, he's going to cross the stripe at a 2:10. That's not going to be any improvement for him. Guillermo Morales, he's going to come through. Actually, his lap did not count, so he's not going to be able to do another one or improve. Juan Herrero, he's working his way across start finish here. He goes to a 2:01.5. That moves him up a few spots. Next driver in line is going to be Johnny Guindy. He works himself through Sunset right now. Currently on pole, big wiggle at the apex of Sunset, and as he comes off, he has this car on the absolute edge. Let's see if that cost him too much time as he comes across start finish, and he goes to a 59.5. I think he dropped 3/10 probably just through that final corner. Just caught one of those bumps just a little bit wrong. Arturo Romero, he hits pit lane. Now we have a triple group of cars coming through. Lucio Vargas is the first, followed by Jorge Cortez and Paul Jourdain. Lucio Vargas, 2:03.4 is his quickest lap, and now he improves by 0.5 of a second. Jorge Cortez, he's going to go to a 2:03.485. Will not be an improvement for him, and Paul Jourdain goes to 2:08. Not an improvement for him as well. Let's see if there's any other cars coming through. Ruben Garcia goes to a 2:02.9. That puts him second from the bottom on the timing screens. Now we have Jose Manriquez as he works himself off that final corner and heads towards the timing screen. He goes to 2:01.4. Solid mid-pack position from him, and I believe that's everyone and their qualifying times done. We have one driver out on track, but it's Juan Herrero, and he is slow around Cunningham. He's still driving, but he didn't look up to pace to me just a moment ago.
Yeah, it is pretty much qualifying over for everybody, so these should be all the times that are in here. So Johnny Guindy here on pole position by a lot. This is almost more than 0.8 seconds, so Johnny Guindy definitely very tough to beat today.
Johnny Guindy always tough to beat in the open wheelers on the iRacing service. We've seen him be strong in the Skip Barber machines. We've seen him be strong in these Formula Renaults. Well, and I'm pretty sure if you were to stick him into a Star Mazda, he'd be super quick as well. One of the best drivers on the sim for sure. But just getting this counter counting down here, Alvin, until all these lap times are official. What to you are some predictions that we're going to see tonight? I think we're going to see a lot of draft. And outside of Johnny Guindy, you think there might be a dark horse that could take it?
it'll be really hard to see what anybody in here can bring to Johnny Guindy. The closest one will be Roberto Montero, but he is not in here today. So that being said, I think Sergio Durelli and Jorge Flores could be the closest ones that perhaps can bring the fight to Johnny Guindy in here today.
So with that, the counter for qualifying ticks down to 0. And now we reset the clock as we try to get everyone on your race grid. It will be a standing start here from Sebring in these little Formula Renaults. And let's go down your starting grid. 19 cars taking to action tonight. Johnny Guindy and Sergio Durelli on that front row, with Jorge Flores and Alex Alba on row 2. Donacerio Martinez and Paul Jourdain on row number 3, with Emmanuel Lopez and Victor Barales on row 4. Jose Manriquez and Juan Herrero on row 5, with Nicolas Sanchez and Miguel Meyer row 6. Cyril Enrique and Mauricio Moreno on row 7. Arturo Romero and Lucio Vargas on row 8. Ruben Garcia and Jorge Cortez row 9. And Guillermo Barales starting in that 19th spot. Alvin, I wish some of our European commentator friends would be here so that they could try to get all these names going down the starting grid.
Well, you know, it's something that kind of happens to us. We here at RaceSpotTV, we try to get the names all right, but you know, with all the different nationalities that we have in here, sometimes we can butcher the names here and there, but hey, that's why we are here. We try our best, and well, we certainly do our best.
So, just waiting on a few drivers to hit the grid. Johnny Guindy, he gets himself sorted. You see him in that yellow and black ERT machine at the head of the field. Just waiting on a couple of other drivers before we start counting down to those green lights. It's going to be an entertaining one. Sebring is always a big talking point for the start in standing start style races. Very, very bumpy front straightaway, and it's concrete, so there's not a lot of traction. So drivers are going to have to be very patient with that throttle pedal. I believe we have all the drivers on the grid, which means we will be turning the lights on in just a moment. Be listening for those little Renault 2.2 liter engines to rev up. Start spooling up for the start here at Sebring in your Apex Esports Series, brought to you by Kultec. All cars on the grid, ready to begin to build. And we are green for round number 4. It's a good start from your top 4. A little bit of side-by-side in the back. There'll be 3 wide in your mid-packing towards turn 1. Victor Barales, Juan Herrero, and Nick Sanchez. They will go 3 wide into this fast first corner. Nick Sanchez probably immediately. You got 1 car around and 1 car upside down through turn 1. Out in front, though, your race leaders are away clean. Johnny Guindy's going to lead this one. Sergio Durelli files into second, with Jorge Flores in third.
Good start there at the front of the field, but a lot of turmoil there on the midfield. And we also got a car that got turned around coming into turn number 4. It's car number 12, Josue Morado Manriquez got turned around.
So a little bit of an incident there, lap 1, turn 1, but for the most part, most of your field is away clean. Couple drivers with big damage, though. Unfortunately, Johnny Guindy continues to lead the way here over the rest of the field, with Sergio Durelli in second, and well, Jorge Flores in that third spot. They work themselves through Cunningham on the run up towards Tower. Very awkward right-hander here on the racetrack. We're getting word that Johnny Guindy in the 18 may be experiencing some technical issues. We're going to wait a couple moments until we get confirmation. Right now, Sergio Durelli, if that's the case, will inherit the race lead, with Jorge Flores in that second spot.
Yeah, and that could be really unfortunate there for our number 18. But for the time being, Sergio Durelli and Johnny Guindy now battling here, and I guess we officially got confirmation there. Johnny Guindy with technical issues, so that could be one of the turning points here of this race and perhaps of this championship, as Sergio Durelli and Jorge Flores are able to do a good breakaway here, and this could be a good fight here. But we also have to remember, these cars, every driver, they are racing to minute 25 to that competition caution. So just because Johnny Guindy is out race for now, that doesn't mean that it's race over for him.
That's going to be the big question for Johnny, is how quickly can he get himself back into the server. Sergio Durelli, he's going to lead lap number 1 with Jorge Flores in second. Manuel Lopez moves up 4 spots that opening lap. He runs third. Paul Jourdain's up a couple spots. He's getting harassed, though, from behind. That is Emmanuel Lopez. He's making a move. Actually just lost that third spot to Paul Jourdain. So sorry about that one as they work themselves through this turn 2 sector on the racetrack. Now through Big Bend, turn number 6. We got one car spinning coming out of turn 5. That's the Nacio Martinez. Issued for that 21. Doesn't seem to hit anything, though, so he's going to file back in, I believe, behind the likes of Pearl Enrique and Lucio Vargas.
He certainly is, and you know, that turn number 5, it is really tough because you are kind of like it is a bit of a slow turn, and you have to be absolutely precise with rollout. We got big turmoil here into the hairpin.
So big incident there in the hairpin. I actually missed this one, so good catch by Alvin. As I believe it started with Guillermo, maybe Jorge Cortez is just trying to get an idea of what exactly happened. Oh no, it started with Curiel Enrique. He just went for a big dive bomb up the inside of Guillermo, and actually I don't even think that was an attempt at making a pass, Alvin. I think he just flat out missed his braking zone to Curiel.
It certainly can be, and that is one of the big things here with these cars. We also have to remember that for these cars, yes, they have lots of downforce. It is not that much horsepower, lots of downforce, but they don't have ABS. And if there is one place that you have to be absolutely precise on your braking points, it's going into the hairpin, because once you start hitting those bumps and you are on the limit wall, you will lock those brakes and you will miss your braking marks for sure.
Getting a replay up now of that lap 1 incident. You can see just a big air coming from a couple drivers, pushing a little bit too hard in towards that first corner. Puts a couple people out on the opening lap. But Sergio Dorelli continues to lead from Jorge Flores. One thing I've noticed here, Alvin, is these two have stretched a big margin over the rest of the field. It was 3 seconds last time around, and it's going to be just under 8 seconds through this lap. Is that these two are being very patient with one another. Jorge Flores is tucked right into the slipstream of Sergio. He hasn't tried to make any move whatsoever, really, on that black and blue number 86 car. So I think that we're going to likely see Jorge be relatively calm until we get to the tail end of this first 25 minutes of the race.
And I think there's really no point in trying to push it right now. They both know that they got a nice, comfortable margin, so they just need to keep this pace and try to do the best they can till minute 25. Now, the other question will be, before minute 25, will any of these two come into the pits? Because yes, Doc, they will have to come into the pits for fuel. These cars, they are limited on the fuel that they can carry on. So when they come into the pits, will they come before the competition yellow, or will they wait until the competition yellow comes out, get those valuable points, but be at risk of being at the tail of the field when they're at the restart?
The thing people are going to be really interesting on, and we're going to see an interesting restart because of that for sure. Fight is on, though, for the third spot between Emmanuel Lopez and Alex de Alba. They're side by side exiting Tower, and on the run into Bishop. This double left is easy flat, and in GT cars this is a hard braking zone, but little Formula cars is going to be more of a quick drag of the brakes and a flick to the right as they work themselves now in towards Le Mans. Very high speed through this right-hander that leads onto the longest straightaway on the racetrack. Emmanuel really struggled through there, and Alex de Alba wasn't able to carry the speed he wanted, but he's able to work the slipstream and now works down the inside on the run down in towards Sunset Bend, the longest straight on track, leads to probably the most awkward braking zone on track because of how bumpy this final corner is, but that's why there's so many grooves through here. Alex catches one of the apex curves, not quite ideal, and that costs him a lot of speed, and this is going to allow Emmanuel to potentially fight back into that first corner. Turn 1 is very bumpy as well, difficult to get down to the apex properly. They're going to be side by side. It's going to be a narrow line taken by Alex, and a very wide one taken by Emmanuel. A little bit of contact up on 2 wheels. It's the 11 Emmanuel Lopez, but he's going to be able to hold on to it somehow, as Arturo Romero's going to pick up a spot.
And car number 15, Rubén Garcia, is able to gain the position from that fighting between Alex de Alba and Emmanuel Lopez. So now Rubén Garcia running in P3, but Alex de Alba, he is still behind, fighting hard.
That he definitely is. The drivers are still working their way through on the racetrack. Update on Johnny Gindy, by the way. He's got himself back in the server, Alvin, and he's been able to maintain lead lap status. So right now for Johnny, he's in a semi-decent position. He's running 17th. He's not in a good position number-wise, but because we're going to have that competition caution 25 minutes into this event, it's going to give him the ability to at least come back and really take the fight, potentially watch that Johnny Gindy driver through the last half of this race really motor his way through the field.
It certainly is now. So now for him, he pretty much knows that in terms of trying to get the 25 points that comes from finishing in first place at the competition yellow, those are pretty much gone. So now he is looking to try to see if he can get some points out of this, at least getting on the top 10, and see if he can get some points. If he can get some points, then he will be good to go. And then once he works that pit strategy, that's where we are going to see how good he is.
That's what we're going to really have to wait and see here as drivers work themselves off that final corner. Across the timing beam, keeping an eye on your race lead. Sergio Dorelli has been able to open up an early margin here over Jorge Flores, out to a 2.5 seconds, Alvin, and that's pretty much going to be the green light right there that Sergio has broken that slipstream. So now for Jorge to be able to reel him in, he's going to have to put down some of the best laps that he has in practice and in qualifying and in this race right here, right now. Because if he lets Sergio stretch much more of a gap, I don't think there's any way that Jorge is going to be able to potentially win those the top paying points position for this first half of the race before the comp yellow, unless Sergio comes down a lap or two early.
And that could be one possibility for Jorge Flores. Perhaps he has decided to dial down the pace just a little bit, trying to save a little bit of fuel here and there. Sergio Dorelli trying to push the car as hard as he can. Perhaps he's trying to push to see what gap he can pull out before he comes into the pits. I think Sergio Dorelli will be coming in before the competition yellow comes out.
They work themselves through Cunningham. We're about halfway, by the way, through this first run. Laps here are 2 minutes, which means that it's going to be a quick runoff in terms of number of laps before we get there. Keep an eye on lap time. Sergio Dorelli, he's out there doing 2-minute .5. Johnny Gindy did a 2-minute .9 his last lap through. That's the first hot lap, he's been able to actually get run. So we just need to see if Johnny can be able to get up to speed. But at the same time, though, Alvin, considering the fact that he's got a 30-second, or actually it's even more than that now, it's basically an entire minute till the next car in front of him. Really, for Johnny Gindy, there's no point in going out there and pushing right now. It might actually be better to just sort of cruise, make sure you maintain the lead lap, and save the tires for that last 25-lap run. Because based on where Johnny is on track, I don't think there's any way that you come down pit road before that 25-minute comp yellow.
And I think that is the strategy right now for car number 18, Johnny Gindy. I think he will be coming into the pits at some point because he knows that he won't be able to make it on fuel. So I think it will be wise, but perhaps with around 30 minutes to go, he will be coming into the pits, get that service done. And I think it will be even wise for him to take tires as well, because he's pretty much at the tail end of this field. So there's no point in trying to save time in the pits with tires or no tires. Just take the full service, and when the restart comes in, then he will have the freshest car and the freshest tires.
These drivers, of course, fighting for Kultec chair, #1 premium gaming chairs brand in Mexico. Focus on the unique design, ergonomics, and comfort for the most demanding gamer and professional users of esports. As drivers continue to work their way through, we've been watching the fight for 5th place. Emmanuel Lopez has been the one who just reigned supreme in that one. Arturo Romero and Victor Morales, though, they're still fighting. This is technically for 6th as they're wheel-to-wheel into the hairpin. And well, Victor Morales, he made that one look easy. Very well executed move down into that hairpin, Alvin, and he picks up that 6th spot.
Great move there for what is being number 6. Now it will be really interesting with these two fighting behind, if they were able to catch Emmanuel Lopez here, because he was able to open a gap just a little bit as a result of that fighting. But it kind of looks like for now, Victor Morales has been able to close that gap a little bit. Now coming here into tower, this will be one of the places that I think for Victor Morales, he will be able to close that gap, because Randy, we just mentioned it before the race started, slipstream is going to be a big factor in here.
Slipstream is going to be a big factor indeed. I also believe Emmanuel Lopez has a little bit of damage on that right front wing, so he might be suffering a little bit with understeer. And look at the way that Victor has been able to close through that Bishop and Lamar sector in the racetrack. Emmanuel is very quick though, exiting Lamar and heading down this long back straightaway here at Sebring, off of turn 16 and in towards turn 17. But now this is where Victor can really work this slipstream. This is going to be one of the things, Alvin, when it comes to setups for these cars. Here at Sebring, I could imagine that there could be a couple different ways that these guys would want to approach this track in terms of the setup, especially in terms of aerodynamics. We're going to stop this technical discussion and look at the racetrack for a moment as Victor is going to take a look down the inside of Emmanuel in towards corner number 1. We've seen a little bit of calamity here thus far today, and in towards this first corner, Victor's going to get clear, and he's going to be able to chop the nose off of Emmanuel Lopez. Will Emmanuel be able to slot it down to the inside in towards turns 2 and 3? No, he will not. So Victor Morales is going to hold the position for now. But here at Sebring, these little Formula Renaults, Alvin, in bigger cars, I would say this is typically a high downforce circuit because you want to be able to get through turn 1, through turn 17, and really even through that sector at Bishop and Lamar very, very quickly. And these little cars, because they have so much more grip and so little power, I could really see that there's two different ways you could really approach aero here. You could either go for a lower trim to be quick down that Ullman straight in towards turn 17 and, well, get a quick run down in towards the hairpin, or we can run a higher downforce trim so that you could be absurdly quick through the likes of turn 1, turn 17, Bishop and Lamar.
This is pretty much a case of pick your poison if you want to look at it that way. You know, high downforce versus low downforce. Fortunately for these drivers, one of the things is, since these races are pretty much set up 24 hours before and they don't know what the car track combo is, the setups are kind of sorted out for each of the drivers, so they are fixed setups, so they don't really have to worry about doing all the math of maybe high versus low downforce. Is pretty much get on the track, make sure as a driver that you can understand the car track setup combo and that you can manage to extract the best out of it.
Still waiting as we count down towards 25 minutes here before we get to that first comp yellow. No drivers have opted to come down pit road yet. There's still some close fights out there on the racetrack. Closest one right now is Ruben Garcia and Alex de Alba, I believe. That's a fight for third. They're very close as they come across start finish. Just about a second, actually less than that. Few tenths separates them. Alex is going to take a look down towards turn 1. Doesn't end up going for it. Ruben cuts it off, and he gets a little bit of a wiggle at the mid corner though. This is going to open up the outside for Alex. You can make this move stick based on the way the following sector of the racetrack flows. And Alex, fantastic move. He makes it stick around the outside. Ruben might have some damage, Alvin, because he is struggling.
Struggling indeed, and fantastic move there from Alex de Alba, trying to make it work into the outside to perhaps what is the smoothest part of the track in here until they get onto the brakes here. It starts getting bumpy again, and that is one of the beauties of this track here, the combination of concrete section versus asphalt, and you get into that concrete and it can be really bumpy and you have to be on your toes. Yes, you can get a little bit of damage in these cars, but it won't be that much. But for now, Ruben Garcia, he will have to try to nurse the car as best as he can until the competition yellow comes out.
That's going to be the main thing for him. And the drivers work their way through. Fight is closed up a little bit for your top two. Jorge Flores, Alvin, has done a good job the last handful of laps. That lead battle has come down to a second. And it seems like Jorge has gotten into a bit of a groove. With Alex de Alba, we're getting word, almost had a spin coming out of Cunningham. Taking a look at that, and yeah, he was a little bit of an avoiding action because Jorge Martinez was actually coming through that corner at Tower, Alvin. And well, that 14 machine, I think he had to crank a little bit more input into the wheel than he was hoping. That got a little bit of an oversteer for him on exit, but well held by him. But Jorge Flores coming into a bit of rhythm here towards the tail end of this first half of the race.
Doing a good job there right now. Jorge Flores trying to close the gap to Sergio Durelli. Coming into Sunset Bend, it was just under 1 second, but now Sergio Durelli able to open that gap again to just a little bit over 1 second. So really interesting how these two cars have been able to kind of open and close that gap. I think for now, Jorge Flores, I think he has the edge because he was trying to go at a slower pace on the previous laps while Sergio Durelli was really going for it, and I think that may have been played a factor on how the tires feel right now.
The lead drivers working their way through the hairpin once again. Jorge dropped about a 10th and a half that lap as we started talking about him. And we got one driver who spun. This is Jose Marquez, Manriquez, coming through that second sector of the racetrack. Tried to hop over one of the curbs and, well, didn't really work out for him. That number 12 machine, it's not been a very good race for him thus far, Alvin. We've seen him really struggling today.
Yeah, definitely Jose Manriquez, he hasn't had a good race in here today, but that is one of the things of this championship. Even though if you are having a bad day, you really have to persevere. You really have to keep the car running, because you never know. You have to get as many points as you can, because 1 point can really make a difference. And well, considering the prices that these drivers are running for, that is something worth fighting.
The lead group battled its way down the long back straightaway here. They're only about 3 laps away, maybe 2 laps, probably closer from that competition yellow. Lead drivers worked their way in towards turn 17. Jorge Flores doing his best to keep with Sergio Durelli. Sergio tried to break that slipstream down the back straightaway this last time through. Not really sure if it worked out. The gap this time came down 0.4 of a second, so I'm not sure what it is. Either Sergio is struggling or Jorge's finding a rhythm, because 0.4 a lap is a huge amount to be taking out of Sergio.
Definitely a lot of time there lost, and I think Sergio Durelli, he is struggling with that car. He is struggling with grip. He was pushing that car to the absolute limit from the drop of the green flag, so I think now is the time for Jorge Flores to kind of take advantage of Sergio Durelli pushing the car really hard on those opening laps. But I think that for now, Sergio Durelli, he is on a safe spot. I think he is trying now to perhaps try to pace the car as best as he can, because I think he is realizing that perhaps it is not a good idea to try to push the car right now and having to come into the pits before the competition yellow, or perhaps it could be really he is struggling with tire grip.
Definitely something to keep in mind, as the 81 car, we're getting word, had some issues as well. That was Jorge Cortez, came to a stop near pit exit. Not really sure what the issue there is, but his day seems to be done, as Sergio is continuing to try to manage this lead fight as best he can. And, well, he needs to do his best here, Alvin, to try to hold over it, because he's not very far away from a full points payout for this first half of the motor race. Of course, at the end of this 25-minute segment, 25 points to your race leader, 18 for that second spot. That's a very valuable 7 points just for this one position here within the next few minutes.
That'll be really interesting, but now we can see Sergio really trying to break the draft there from Jorge Flores, and I think Jorge Flores, he is not really that interested into fighting with Sergio Durelli right now, because he knows that he has the pace. There's really no point in him right now trying to chase that draft. So I think Jorge Flores, he is making that time on pure pace alone.
Cross start finish. Race time was at 20 minutes that last time through. So we're 5 minutes away from that coming out as they work themselves off of corner number 1. Dear race leaders, having a look up and down the field. Seems like most of our other fights have pretty much come to a close here, Alvin. We have a couple drivers that are close, Victor Morales and Paul Jourdain. A couple drivers up to hit pit lane, Victor and Paul. They're going to come down pit lane right here, right now.
Coming into the pit, so they are playing the long-term game. Perhaps they may not be that interested in the competition yellow points, but they may be more interested in long-term, the race win. And yes, 25 points at the competition yellow, but if you win the race, you get 50 points. So perhaps that is something that they are trying to play right now.
That's going to be the big thing for these guys. Will they have track position after this comp yellow? That's going to be the big question for them. Durelli and Flores continue to lead this entire field around, as those two that just came down pit road now leave. Is a much better pit stop, by the way, for Victor Morales, as Paul Jourdain a little bit slower, and he actually loses another spot to Arturo Romero. So not a great situation there as your race leaders work their way in towards Bishop. And it's going to be interesting to see now, Alvin, do any of these guys in the top two, does Sergio or Jorge opt to come down pit road here at this segment of the race?
that'll be the thing to watch right now, as I think they will only have 2 chances to do so right now, right at the end of this lap and the next lap, because then after that the competition yellow will come out and pits will be closed. So that'll be pretty much they will be locked into that position until the pits open. So now here coming out of sunset, but I think Sergio Dorelli is really close here, and he may be coming into the pits, and so is Jorge Flores.
Both drivers off to come down pit road at the same time, so as we're getting closer and closer to that comp yellow, we're going to get the race leaders coming down pit road simultaneously. Alex de Alba, he's going to come through the final corner. What will he opt to do here? He's going to hit pit lane here early as well. Victor Morales, who's actually the 4th place right now. Alex is in pit road. It's going to be, I believe, Emmanuel Lopez will be the 4th place runner, and he's working down this long back straightaway right here, right now. Your race leaders, they're already out and away with fuel only. And that was a very short stop from them too, Alvin. And just, I mean, talk about the gap that they have. They're able to maintain their position, I believe, even after coming down pit road. Huge gap for these two.
Yeah, very smart play there by both of them. And it goes to show that if you have the pace, you can go and try to go for the biggest gap possible, because you never know with the way that they were racing. You can see that even Emmanuel Lopez, that he's coming into the pits right now, and they will still be able to get out of the pit. So nice job by the number 86 and the number 29 for sure. One thing that I noticed, number 14, Alex de Alba, he came into the pits and I think I saw him taking tires. No, it wasn't the number 14. It was the car number 7, Miguel Mier. He came into the pits and he also took tires.
So interesting strategies up and down the field thus far as we're closing in on that competition yellow. It was 22 minutes that has gone by in this race once your race leaders came down pit road. After about being through that pit lane for about 30 seconds, we're going to be basically on that 25-minute mark right when they get in towards start finish. So we're going to have to take a look to see when this will actually come out as your race leaders work their way through Bishop. Now through Le Mans down this long back straightaway. Sergio Dorelli, not a great line through that final corner at penultimate corner at turn 16. Jorge Flores, I think that's been one of the spots he's been making up a lot of time. But that said, I believe the top speed advantage still is in favor of Sergio, likely running that car a little bit more trimmed out here. They work their way through Sebring. Let's see when they cross start finish exactly how much time has been run thus far in this event, as they work themselves towards the timing beam under that fresh Florida bridge. And now cross start finish, they're going to go 20 seconds to go until we get that competition yellow, and the field is basically going to get reset. Johnny Guindy is still out there trying to pick out spots. He's gotten along around the likes of Curly Enrique and John Herrero. Johnny's doing a good job trying to set himself up for a good starting position at the closing of this race. But competition yellow flies, half distance now, Alvin, and now we get a lap or two to take a break.
Try to take a break in here, and for some of the cars here that have been involved in incidents, this will be a great time to come into the pits and get that repair done. One thing to remember, these are all the drivers here, they have one fast repair that they can use to their advantage. So anybody that has damage, they will if they haven't come into the pits, they will do so now. They will repair as much as they can from that damage and then be ready to go for the second half of this race.
So field is going to get itself stacked up. Drivers have pretty much slowed down as people are going to go to catch your race leader. Sergio Dorelli is heading now in towards Cunningham, so he's only halfway around. It's going to be a little bit here, Alvin, before we actually see everyone get a chance to come down pit road and eventually see these guys pick up the pace car.
Will be it will take just a little time for sure, but this is part of the strategy game from this race. Take it as slow as possible. They know that they cannot overtake, so try to save as much fuel as they can. And I think that is part of what plays in this race when it comes to strategy. You know that there's going to be a competition yellow. You know that there's going to be some laps that you won't have to push 100%. So perhaps you can also take just a little less fuel that you will usually take if the race was green flag from start to finish.
That's actually one of the things, Alvin, talking about this event, because the way iRacing works, it's not 25 minutes, then a caution, then 25 minutes. This caution takes up a period of this race time. So it's going to be a while that comes off this race clock, because you got to think of 25 minutes. These guys are doing 2 minutes under racing conditions. Under a pace lap, that's going to be 4 minutes. We're going to lose a good section of the second half of this race spent behind the safety car.
It certainly is, but you know that is one of the things here that perhaps Sebring kind of plays it. It is a big racetrack as the leader just was able to catch up with the pace car. So now pretty much the whole field is going to reset. So now, that being said, there won't be that much time left once the green flag drops again. So I'm trying to get a look here at where Johnny Guindy is, and he is right now in P number 11. So what can he do once the green flag drops again, and how many positions will he be able to make?
It's going to be a big question here, as Johnny is right now coming off turn 17. So that gives you an idea of what the gap is. He's yet to even be able to catch your race leaders. We're currently rolling their way down in towards the hairpin. He will definitely get there, though, as we wait for this field to get reset. We are going to take a short commercial break here on RaceSpotTV, but do not go away as we get ready to bring you the fantastic closing of this event here at Sebring. Don't go away.
Before you can get on track, you'll need to calibrate your wheel and pedal set. You'll need to do this in iRacing even if you have already done this using your own controller software. Prior to entering the sim, make sure you've downloaded and installed the latest drivers from the manufacturer's website. Once that's done, follow these easy steps to calibrate your controller. We recommend calibrating in a test session, so pick a car and then click test. Don't go into a practice or official session. The last thing you want to do is have you go on track and crash into another car. Once you're in your test session, click on the options button. You will then see input calibration. This is where your calibration takes place. Start by clicking on the steering button. You will then be prompted to turn your wheel fully one direction and then another. Make sure you place your wheel back into its centering position before hitting done. Now, you'll be asked to turn your wheel 90 degrees to the left. Make sure it's at 90 and hold it there while hitting done. For pedals, click on the pedals button. Here you'll be asked to press the throttle all the way down and then release it. You'll do the same for the brake and clutch pedal if you have one. For the gearbox, you'll first be asked to set buttons for sequential shifting. Once complete, a prompt will ask if you have a H pattern shifter. If not, hit no. If yes, click it and you'll begin to map the gears individually. Once you've completed these steps, you are calibrated and ready to go racing.
Lights out. Well, welcome back here to RaceSpotTV as we are getting ready for the restart in the Apex Esports Series, brought to you by Kultec. Randy Chinnet, Alvin Yeves, Hugo Louis bringing you the action. While Alvin, it's going to be a pretty short sprint here. Only 8 minutes or so is going to be on the clock when these guys go green, because it's about 3.5 minute trip around this place. 34 minutes scored complete at the end of this, so it's not going to be a lot of laps remaining in this event at Sebring.
Not a lot of laps for sure, but it will be really interesting because with only around maybe 13 to 12 minutes to go, once they go back into green, all these drivers, they will be going flat out. They won't let any room for error. They will be pushing as hard as they can for sure.
So, field getting reset. Driver we need to keep an eye on is the number 18 of Johnny Gindy. He restarts in the 11th place. He just missed out on top 10 points at the 25-minute cutoff, but you know that he's going to be flying through this field, Alvin, trying to make up position.
He will be flying for sure, but none of the drivers in front will give him any room. For sure, they will fight him for every position, every point in here. So Johnny Gindy, if he wants to get this race win today, he will have to do the race of his life for sure. And with the drivers that are on the top 10 right now, it will be a tough task to ask for sure.
Definitely going to be indeed. They run their way off towards Tower. These guys are still fighting for one of those amazing Kultec gaming chairs. Well, that's a prize certainly worth fighting for, and I think, Alvin, we saw some drama on the start of this race at turn 1. The fact that you're getting a very, very late race restart relative to some of the other tracks that we've seen thus far in this championship, I don't think we're going to see everyone make it through turn 1 here.
It could be really interesting because when you consider the prices that are here to fight for, you know, it could be really hard. So all these drivers, they will definitely have to do the best they can. I don't think they will leave any room for each other. I think they will fight for whatever they can possible in here. These drivers, you know, when you are competing, you try to do the best, and well, yeah, sometimes that means not leaving any room. Yes, these drivers, many of them, they are good friends outside of the racetrack, but you know, once you put that visor down, it is racing time.
Either goes down, focus comes up, and the green flag is getting ready to drop. The field working the tires as they head down through corner number 17. That iRacing roof safety car be in pit road in just 1 moment's time. Thank you for tuning in once again for us on RaceSpotTV and on iRacing Live. As the field works its way off the final corner, Sergio Dorelli gets on it early, and we are back to green flag racing here at Sebring in the Apex Esports Championship. 12 minutes is what we have left on the clock. I think we're going to have 7 laps that get run here to the finish.
7 laps and good run there from Sergio Dorelli, but Alex Villalba fighting there side by side with Emmanuel Lopez for what is P number 3. Sorry, Ruben Garcia, but Ruben Garcia getting a better position coming here into turn number 3 and all the way in the midfield. Looks like everybody was able to survive.
Everyone's proving me wrong. I was expecting a lot of pandemonium, but everyone's going to be able to make it work as they work themselves down towards Big Ben. Keeping an eye on that runner of Johnny Gindy. I believe he's made up a couple spots thus far on this restart already. And I believe he's currently in that 10th spot, maybe even closer to 9th or 8th. We're going to have to wait for a timing update. Big dive from a driver behind Johnny. This is Juan Herrero. Huge move down to the hairpin. He pushed really wide. They're 3 wide through the segment of Johnny Gindy. He gets spun after that aggressive move. They were 3 wide off the hairpin. And I have to say, Alvin, I think Juan was driving a little over his head there.
He was definitely driving a bit over his head. Yes, they were 3 wide, but Johnny Gindy left room for him, but it kind of looks like he didn't want to give up that position. And well, yeah, unfortunately now for Johnny Gindy, this is race over for him for sure. As we have more pandemonium coming into Collier.
So a little bit more pandemonium up and down the field. as everyone continues to run their way out side by side for race leading positions here in your field. 5th and 6th place, that's Alex de Alba and D'Amico Martinez. As they work side by side through Bishop, somehow they're able to make that work, and they get their way clear. Sergio and Jorge have broken away through the rest of the field once again, as Alex and Ruben are working the slipstream on themselves down this long back straight.
Side by side coming here into Sunset Bend, Rubén Garcia and Alex de Alba. It looks like for now Rubén Garcia got the advantage, but now he runs really wide and almost hits the wall, and that is one of the things here at Sunset Bend. Yes, you can run it wide, but if you hit those bumps in a bad way, well, it can push you all the way to the wall. But fortunately for car number 15, Rubén Garcia, he was able to save it.
So timer still counting down. 39 minutes 46 seconds scored complete at the time that they got to the line. So just under 10 minutes remaining in this motor race, as there's still fights up and down the field. Question has to be, what has happened to that number 18 car of Johnny Gindy? I think this is going to be race done, Alvin. This could be a huge swing in the championship, because he's going to effectively come out of here with pretty much no points.
No points for sure, but if there is one thing that he has on his advantage is that there will be a drop week in this championship. I think he wanted to use that drop week for what was the previous round at Pocono, but now he will have to use it for this round in here. One thing he has on his pocket is that the driver in P2 in the standings, Roberto Montero, he is not in here today, so he will be using that drop week as well.
Yeah, that's going to be one of the major things for sure to check out. The fight for third is still on. Jorge Flores is maintaining the gap, but the fight for third is absolutely immense. As Donachino Martinez, you have Alex de Alba and Paul Jourdain. These guys are all nose to gearbox as they work their way in towards Bishop. You also have Ruben Garcia not a very long way back as well in this fight. In towards this first right-hander, a little bit defensive is Alex de Alba, not wanting to open up the door for Paul Jourdain whatsoever. They now come off towards Le Mans on down the long back straight once again. And it's a great run from that number 21 car of Martinez to start pushing the gap. But there's slipstream fights happening in the background. That's Paul Jourdain and Ruben Garcia, as Ruben has a big head of steam into this final corner. Going to try to slot it around the outside, and he's going to be able to do it. Well done by the 15.
Not sure exactly what happened there to Paul Jourdain, as he lost a lot of speed coming out of Le Mans, and that definitely allowed Ruben Garcia to get that position. But at the same time, Alex de Alba, Donachino Martinez able to pull away for P3.
And towards turn one, oh, big incident. We got the number 15 car get sent around. What happened here? Not sure what exactly happened. If a driver missed his braking zone, that's exactly what happened. As a driver, Ruben Garcia, Paul Jourdain, who cycled it behind following that final corner, Alvin, broke a little bit later, tried to go for a bit of a move at the inside, but that's the second over-optimistic move we've seen on this restart, and I think because of the 8 car, we've just lost that number 15 of Ruben Garcia. He's still on track, but that was a big hit through turn 1.
Definitely a big hit, and well, we kind of mentioned it, Randy. Once the green flag drops again, these drivers they were going to go for any move that they can. They were not going to leave any room, and well, we are seeing that for sure, as these drivers definitely fighting hard for any positions they can right now. Ruben Garcia, yes, he is still on track, but definitely a long ways back. Meanwhile, this battle for pin number 3 between Alex de Alba and Donachino Martinez is heating up.
Yeah, Alba's doing a good job. He's shown good pace thus far in this event. A little bit of oversteer through tower for Martinez, but he does a good job to hold on to it. They work now in towards Bishop. This fast double left, and then, like I said earlier, a bit of a drag of the brakes and a quick flick to the right. Want to use a lot of that curb on the right-hand side and use a bit of it on the left as well. Then you can run out a little bit wide, turn in for this 16th corner. There's a little bit of a hiccup there for Donachino Martinez through that 16th turn, and because of that, Alex de Alba is going to have an opportunity, I think, down this long straightaway using the slipstream, but it wasn't a great run for him either, and will he quite get there? Maybe running a little bit more downforce? No, he's not going to be able to, but if he has more aero on the car, he should be quick through this final corner. A little bit of a hiccup over the bumps for Martinez. He's going to be able to hold on to the spot for now. So for Alex de Alba, Alvin, I think he's not very confident through that final corner. And if he was, I think he would have been able to have a move. He harasses the mirrors in towards turn 1, but nowhere near close enough to make a move. But he still looks to the outside. Can he force that 21 into a mistake?
I think for now, Donachino Martinez, he has a cool head, because with all the pressure that Alex de Alba has been able to put in, Donaciano Martinez to be able to keep that car pointing straight and not the other way around, that is definitely something to be commended for. But now coming here into Big Bend, let's see if Alex de Alba will be able to go into the inside. He looks into the inside. I think he's going for it. Under braking here, side by side, Alex de Alba and Donaciano Martinez. Alex de Alba takes that position away.
Well done by Alex, but will Donaciano be able to throw the move back down in towards Cunningham as he has the slipstream as he works their way through this quick right-left chicane, and Alex is going to defend the inside. If Donaciano can hold the left, he might be able to make this move stick, but he's too wide. Didn't do a good job getting the car turned in, so because of that, Alex is officially in this third position. Into Tower, Alex still runs a little bit of a defensive line, but he's pretty much clear to run the racing line through the important bit of the corner, and he's pretty much free and clear at the moment. But look for Martinez to be quick down the back straight. Meanwhile, out in front, Jorge Flores has reeled in Sergio Dorelli for that race lead, gap down to about 0.3 of a second.
Jorge Flores doing a fantastic job keeping behind Sergio Dorelli. Now coming here into Almond Straight, Sergio Dorelli trying to break the gap, and this time Jorge Flores, he said, you know what, you wanna try to break that draft? Sorry, I'm gonna keep it as close as I can to you as they come here into Sunset Bend, and it looks like Jorge Flores takes a closer line here into the wall here, as Sergio Dorelli kind of prefers a bit of a wider line.
It's going to be a bit of a personal preference thing there as these guys come across the timing being 46 minutes nearly to complete in this race. So I believe we'll have enough time for 3 laps, 2 more definitely, and I think we'll just take a third before we get to the end of this one. So for Jorge Flores, excuse me, he needs to find some way to make a move stick sooner rather than later. Alex de Alba, by the way, has driven away from that 21 car of Martinez. So that's pretty much the gap done and battle done there. So it's all going to be up to this fight for the race lead between the 86 and the 29.
Sergio Dorelli and Jorge Flores, pretty much this is the battle to watch, because this is the race win in here. Sergio Dorelli, Jorge Flores now coming here out of the hairpin. Jorge Flores still close there to Sergio Dorelli for what is P number 1 in the race win in here today, but Sergio Dorelli not clinching at all, but he takes a little bit of a defensive line coming here into Cunningham, and that may allow Jorge Flores to close the gap here. Now coming here into Collier, but I think for now Sergio Dorelli, he is safe, but I think he's gonna take a bit of a defensive line. No, Sergio Dorelli goes as wide as he can.
Certainly a good idea, because tower turn, not really a good passing opportunity, especially in these sorts of cars. It's not a very long braking zone, because these guys carry so much speed through there. In towards the quick right left here, and Jorge Flores has been able to pull right up to the back of the 86 car. He's going to look up the inside at Lamar, going to scare him away from the apex, and this is going to open a door of opportunity, I think, from Jorge Flores. Down this long back straightaway, working the slipstream, you see Sergio Dorelli defending the inside, and the 29 car of Jorge Flores is going to be able to defend, or excuse me, go the long way around. He might be able to make that work, because it's not quite as bumpy through the wider line, which means he should be able to keep downforce on the car. Jorge cuts it back down to the inside, has a bit of a run of momentum, not quite there yet though, as Sergio is trying to break that slipstream, and I believe there are exactly 2 laps remaining in this event at the stripe, and looking to the right side is Sergio Dorelli. He's not quite going to be able to get there, but will he be able to slot his way on the exit of the corner? No, he won't. Sergio holds on for now.
I found it kind of interesting that Sergio Dorelli decided to go into the inside at Sunset Bend, considering that he has been preferring that middle line coming into Sunset Bend. So he kind of gave up his preferred line, and that almost cost him this race.
Could have been a little bit of a mistake for sure, as there is 2 minutes and some change left to go when they got to the time being minute and a half remaining, which means that we still have 2 laps to go. Through the hairpin, quick through that little kink, and off towards this straightaway. Let's see what's going to happen for Jorge Flores. I don't think he's going to be close enough to make a move down in towards Cunningham. It's been an awkward zone, but Sergio Dorelli is going to cut the move off anyways. And while Jorge's going to take the opportunity on the outside, it's still a little bit too wide of Jorge. He's going to make a mistake, and that's pretty much going to be the nail in the coffin for him unless Sergio makes a mistake. But Jorge maybe being a little over aggressive, Alvin. He just threw away a potential chance at the win.
He kind of threw that for sure because Sergio Durelli, he was on a defensive position, and Jorge Flores, no point in trying to fight no point in trying to fight for P1 at that point, because he knew that the next section of corners, it was going to be really tough to try to overtake. So I think he got a little bit too overzealous with the throttle. So that's pretty much the race went thrown away. So I think Sergio Durelli, barring any race-ending mistakes, he's gonna take the race win in here today.
Hopefully there will be no commentator's curse coming through in this one. As into the final corner comes Sergio Durelli. You should be seeing the white flag at this time through, and coming to the end of this 50-minute event from Sebring. It's been a wonderful performance from this 86 car. Very good in qualifying. Yet it got a little bit of an opportunity due to technical issues on the side of Johnny Guindy, but that's going to allow him to take the opportunity and come away with it. Johnny may have been able to be a dark horse through the tail end of this event, but unfortunately incidents after the restart took him out of contention. But for Sergio Durelli, he is looking keen to be the third winner in 4 races in the Apex Esports Championship, brought to you by Kultec, as he works his way under the Corvette Bridge and on the run down towards the famous hairpin here at Sebring. Braking at about 4, 3, 2, now. And now a quick flick to the right, get to the apex, and then be careful on the throttle. If you're Sergio Durelli, Alvin, no need to push too hard. Just make sure you get traction. Make sure you don't spin. You have a 7-second advantage.
Have a 7-second advantage, but coming here into the hairpin, Alex Yalba spun the car, and that may allow Donaciano Martinez to take P3.
So a bit of an incident here from Alex de Alba. Donaciano Martinez is going to try to take the opportunity, but is yet to be able to do so. Jorge Flores managed to stretch the margin. Martinez is there looking to the outside of the Alba. Not quite able to make anything of it yet. Now they have to run down towards Tower. Can that 14 car hold back the 21 machine through this corner? And nothing coming just yet. They're going to remain single file. Now the run down towards Bishop. No move's going to come here either. There's no way to run side by side through here, really. But that said, there has been some brave braking opportunities here in the past and various other cars here at Sebring. But no, nothing done just yet. Meanwhile, race leader Sergio Durelli, he's working his way halfway down that long back straightaway. 14 car works through Le Mans, doesn't get to the apex. This is going to open the door for the 21 of Martinez. And the 14 of Alex is going to defend down to the inside. Wants to hold on to this Martinez. He finds the gap, though, down low, and he's going to pull through in towards that third spot. Sergio Durelli, though, comes off the final corner, and he will win round 4 here at Sebring. But who's going to take the final step on the podium? Is there's going to be a little bit of contact between the two, and Alba gets forced into the wall. Martinez makes a physical move through the final corner, and he will take that third spot here at Sebring.
Little bit of wheel-to-wheel contact coming here out on the last corner for the last step of the podium. I think there may be a little bit of race review after this race, considering all the things that happened. But that contact between Donaciano Martinez and Alex Yalba, definitely, I think there will be a little bit of a review later after this race.
Between those two, I think it was just a racing incident, Alvin. I really don't see either driver. The 14 machine, as I see it, kind of tried to cut across a little bit early on the 21, expecting the 21 to take a little bit of a tighter exit, but I don't see it either way, as either driver really trying to chop the other off, either, dirty. It just sort of, it's just one of those things that occasionally happens off that final corner, where there's so many different lines some drivers will take. Sometimes when you see people go through there side by side, the two lines just sort of come together.
It certainly is, Randy. And then the other thing you have to consider, with all the lines that you can take into Sunset, you can be confident that you have your line all the way to the exit, and then a bump just comes in and pretty much throws your car out of shape. And I think that's what may have caused that contact, a little bump there through Donaciano Martinez into Alex de Alba, and that's where and I think that is where the contact happened.
So that we will go down your post-race results following round 4 of the Apex Esports Series, brought to you by Kultec. Sergio Durelli takes away a big win. You saw him doing some celebratory donuts at the old hairpin here at Sebring. Jorge Flores in that second spot, with Donaciano Martinez in third, Alex de Alba fourth, and Paul Jourdain rounds out your top 5. Ruben Garcia in 6th, Manuel Lopez 7th, Victor Morales in 8th, Curiel Enrique in 9th, and Lucio Almaciada Vargas in that 10th spot. Arturo Romero in 11th, Miguel Meyer 12th, Guillermo Morales in 13th, Jose Martinez in 14th, with Mauricio Moreno in 15th, and then Jorge Cortez, Juan Herrera, Johnny Guindy, and Nick Sanchez rounds out the field. Alvin, it was a fantastic race today at Sebring. What are your closing thoughts?
It was definitely a fantastic race, pretty much. It was highlighted by all the technical difficulties that Johnny Guindy had at the beginning of the race, but that opened pretty much for what was a fantastic battle here for the race win between Jorge Flores and Sergio Verli. Towards the end of the race, of course, Jorge Flores got a little bit overzealous and unfortunately pushed it a little bit too far and threw that race win away.
Now, because of the format of this championship, we have no way really to be able to predict or hype up the next event, but it's been several amazing events thus far, Alvin. Interesting car and track combination. Started with, we've seen 2 races with high downforce machines. The Radicals at Monza opened the round. Johnny won there. And then, of course, these Formula Renaults here at Sebring. Ferrari GT cars at Road Atlanta a couple races ago. And then the Chevy Impala at Pocono. Variety of cars is really the big selling point of this championship, isn't it?
And that is what makes this championship so fantastic. The drivers, they have to be able to drive all different types of cars and tracks, and then the best part is that they really have no time to practice. They pretty much 24 hours before the race they announce the car track combo, and they have to be ready for it.
So with that is going to do it for us here in round number 4 of the Apex Esports Series, brought to you by Kultec. Huge shout outs to the sponsor Kultec for bringing us this championship. It's been a very, very fun race, a set of races to broadcast thus far. We look forward to the final couple rounds coming in the next couple weeks. But for everyone here at RaceSpotTV, myself, Randy Chineth, Alvin Yevas, Hugo Louis, thank you for joining us, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.